going on, guys? Kyle here from Gnarly Knives, and today, as you can probably tell from the title of the video, I might have found my favorite knife. Definitely one of, anyway. And it's not a fancy knife, it's not an expensive knife. It's actually a $25, you could argue a very budget folding knife, and that is this, the Douk. So this is a French-made slip joint. From a little research I've done, this company has been around since I believe 1929, 1930, right around in there. And they've been making these knives since then. Excuse me, I just woke up a little while ago, so still kind of waking up there. So please forgive my voice. This knife, I've only had it for maybe a week and a half, and I've completely fallen in love with it. I ordered a few knives at the same time, got them all the same day. This one I have not been able to put down. This one, of course, doesn't have a clip, so I carry it inside my pocket. I still carry, my regular pocket knife, but I've been noticing whenever I need to cut something, this is what I've been pulling out. I love the shape of this. I love the construction of it, the simplicity, and it does have a little bit of a checkered history, but that's not the fault of the knife. But we'll go into all that in a little bit more. I'm going to try and keep this video, I'm going to try to keep it in the 10-minute range, because this is going to be kind of like a mash of, first impressions, full review. I definitely will be talking about this knife in the future on this channel, but, it's a very simple knife. It is a, it's a slip joint. I completely slipped my mind. But yes, this is a slip joint, but it's a very stiff slip joint. Compared to some other knives that I have or have used that are slip joints, I'm really not too worried about this thing closing on me. If anything, this thing, it's very strong. It's probably as close to a locking knife as you can get. And even, it's a two-stage open. But it's a very slicey knife. It's very thin behind the edge. I'm talking extremely thin. It's very, very slicey, and I think that is pretty awesome. It has a really thin, almost needlepoint tip. Actually, the tip itself reminds me very much of the Opinel knives, another great French traditional knife company, been around for a very long time as well. I believe a little longer than this, but still a very long time. This knife has been around, 90 years, so it's definitely been around the bush a few times. This here, we'll just do the specs real quick. So a lot of time I'll go off Amazon, different product reviews, and I'll of course measure myself. And I feel like they're always accurate. With these, the product descriptions, they're not the most accurate. So this says it's a 3 1/8 inch blade. It's actually a 3 1/2 inch blade. And you have probably about a 3 1/4 inch cutting edge. And then the overall length is about 7 3/4 inches, a little less than 8 inches, right around there, just measuring with my multi-tool. So, forgive me there. But they do come in, I believe, 3 different sizes. They do have a smaller one that's under 3-inch blade, and then the one that this was marketed as the 3 1/8 inch blade. So I believe this one to be the largest of the 3 sizes. If I am wrong, please correct me there, but from what I've seen, from other stuff I've seen online and different websites that carry them, it seems to be that this is the larger of the sizes. So you're looking anywhere from the 3 to 3 1/2 inch range. This is a carbon steel. They do make it in stainless. I tried to find, they don't say what the steels they use, but this one, it didn't really come with an edge. It was just kind of just tapered all the way down, so there was no real secondary bevel, and you could see some flat spots where it wasn't fully ground in. So I don't know, I put my own edge on it, and it's been great ever since. It's still shaving, and like I said, I've been cutting everything with this. Granted, it's only been for a week, but though I'm not sure what the steel is, I'm pretty sure it's not a super steel. I doubt this is M4 or anything crazy like that, though that would be pretty cool. It does have a really cool design on it. Douk is kind of leafy vine design. They do come in different styles. So this one, the Douk, see if that kind of shows up. So this is the Douk. It's like a Polynesian spirit. They have another one that's called, I believe, Latiki, where that is another spirit, another Polynesian spirit. And then they have the, I believe it's called the Baraka. I am probably pronouncing that wrong, version. And that also has another, I believe that one was, the design and everything was intended more for Muslim areas. And then they have, I'm definitely not going to pronounce this right, but basically, just, cut to the chase there. It's basically just squirrel in French, and it has a little squirrel guy on it. Because these knives, they were just marketed to their different parts of the world where they had their own different colonies and such. And it was saying a little bit of the checkered past. I believe it was the 50s and the 60s. These were very popular with Algerian death squads. And they would murder and maim people with them. I'll spare most of the details, but pretty much just went to disfiguration of the face, eyes, cutting off the nose. Actually, I guess it didn't spare you. Yeah, they would pretty much just cut off people's ears, noses, or eyes, or it would just kill people with the knives. But what they would do was, I guess they would turn these into a fixed blade, because like I said, it's just a folded handle, folded metal construction, so very similar to, if anybody has or is familiar with, I have a few of these, but the Japanese Higanokami, just that same folded metal construction. Difference is this is a friction folder, so this tab here, when it opens, you just hold your thumb on it and then it's open, or it's held open, whereas this one does have a back spring in here and is a slip joint. But what they would do, as you can kind of see where the tang from the blade, they would just either hammer or whatever and squish the metal in behind the tang, and it would be stuck in the open position. And being metal, it's not going anywhere unless you physically pry it and whatever. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like you said, it's not the knife's fault, it's just what it was. Very unfortunate, but it is a really cool knife. It's definitely smoothed up. The downside, I would say, it's a pinned construction, so unfortunately you cannot take it apart. But I don't think you necessarily need to, as opposed to some knives that are made like this, where it's just together and you can't take them apart. But this here, it is pretty easy to clean. I put some knife oil in. Probably mentioned other videos. I really am a fan of that Benchmade blue knife lube. There's hundreds of other kinds. That's just what I found that works for me. But I just kept putting it in, opening and closing it, and then just wiping it out, putting more in, just as it's wearing in, because it was just getting a lot of metal just from that. But it is definitely smoothing up. It was a little gritty. Now it's, I feel like as smooth as this can be, because it is definitely more of a two-stage open. So you have that kind of half-stop area, and then it's fully open. One thing I was reading, the intention for that kind of half-stop, but it's a very firm half-stop, is that if it does, something were to close, this, depending on what you're doing, it would stop there instead of slamming on your fingers. As I'll show you, this thing is like a little finger guillotine. I'm trying to make it, to show it so it's not like, oh, he's just pushing hard on it. Because it's really not it. It's just, it gets to a point, and then it just snaps shut. And that was with just using as much force as it takes just to move the blade. And it just, that snaps. So it is definitely a very strong, I guess, detent in it. I doubt it has detent balls and any of that stuff, but once it's in, it's not, I feel like you could do this for days, and no matter how hard you do it, the blade's not going to fly out and open. But I thought I would do two, just kind of give an idea, some size comparison, just have a couple blades here, nothing crazy, so here is the Douk, and then we have the Paramilitary 2, the Para 3, the lightweight. So you can see size-wise, length-wise, it is definitely larger. I'm glad that it came being this large version, just because it just fits my hand very well for what it is. But we can get to more of that in a minute. So here we also have the Spyderco Delica, kind of give you a little idea there. So this is just definitely a smaller knife, but it's funny is I wouldn't even say this is so much a light use. I mean, I wouldn't say this is a heavy use knife, like a heavy duty knife, but it's definitely, unless you're like prying or doing stuff up towards the tip because it is pretty thin. I feel like this knife will definitely do some work for you. And then also kind of give you an idea here, we have the Kershaw Leak, and then I already showed you guys the Higanakami. Higanakami is definitely a bit smaller, but they also make different sizes of the Higanakami. This is one of their smaller ones. And the price of it too, the knife, it's $25. I mean, I think I've seen the most expensive versions go for about $45. And I believe you can get them in either carbon or stainless. It would just be the same steels as the other ones from what I imagine. But they'll come painted, green or blue or red on the handle, and then they'll have the leather sheath, belt sheath for it, and they'll have a little sharpening rod that comes with it. So, it's up to you what you would like. I actually have already ordered another one. I ordered one of the Latiki ones. And that one actually is kind of cool. It was about the same price as this, right around $25, $28. I think that one was a couple bucks more. It has a stainless steel handle with their tiki design. And then it has the carbon blade, but it's actually blacked out. So I was like, all right, cool. We're getting a tactical folding slip joint. Thought it was kind of cool. I definitely see getting more. I want to get all the sizes, all the different kinds. One of them, I believe it might be the Baraka one, where it's a little bit different blade shape. So this here you kind of have that scimitar kind of looking blade shape. The other one, it's kind of just more of just like a drop point. It actually looks very similar to a Swiss Army knife blade. So that is kind of cool. So you get little variants in there. But this is a really cool knife. Oh, and you also get to a little, it's called a bail. This here, it does move. I suppose if you really want, you could probably, there you go, now you can lock it, see? Boom. That's pretty cool. I haven't tried that. But yeah, so if, you're into doing, lanyards and stuff, actually this, because I'm not really a big lanyard person, but something like this, I probably won't do it, but I could see more people, it being a better idea probably for more people that generally don't use lanyards, where this wouldn't be a bad idea for a lanyard because there's no clip, so it just chills right in your pocket. But if you could make or get a little lanyard that just clip on there, then you just zoop, pull it right out of your pocket. It'd be up to you. But I can definitely see that being a good way to go. But it is, and it's a very thin knife. It kind of flares out a little bit in the middle. But for what it is pretty comfortable. I can get my full hand on it. There really aren't any hot spots. Now, granted, if I was doing long, repetitive cuts, spending a long time with it, yeah, I could totally see this not being the most comfortable because it's thin and it's metal. But it actually came pretty well made. I mean, because even, looking at it, I mean, that, I'll be able to really tell, try and get some good lighting. But this blade is damn near dead center. Like, it's just a hair off. And I think that's pretty amazing for just a knife of this price. And then, I feel like it's kind of at random. It's not, like a regular knife you can take apart and you got, your washers and detent balls and you got, liners and so many things all together. And then your pivot screw you can adjust to play, with the positioning of the blade. No, this is just blade, handle, pin. Boom, that's it. So I feel like there is probably a good chance of getting the blades going one direction or the other. Excuse me. But anyway, this one came, like I said, damn near dead center, which I think is pretty cool. I really didn't find too much bad about it. Like I said, just the, it just came without an edge. It was just almost like, I guess, I don't know what the right term would be, it's a grind that I don't think it exists, but it just had like a zero grind on it. It was like a Scandi, so it was like a full flat Scandi in a sense. It just came right down to where the edge was. And there were some spots that were a little sharper than others. You can tell they, probably gave it a quick, over a belt or something, like on sand grinding belts to put an edge on. But I mean, if you were really determined, I'm sure you could definitely cut yourself the way it was before I sharpened it. But especially just because it's so thin, it's just thin metal. So this is something I could see, though it's probably not what most of us would consider, a very good carbon steel. Because like I said, I don't know what the steel is, but because it's so thin, it will give that impression of staying sharp for a long time, even when it's dull, because it's just so thin. But, hi, honey.
Hey. I'm just gonna switch laundry loads quick and throw shoes on and my contacts.
Alright, honey, sounds good. I'll be done with this in a minute.
Okay.
You want to say hi?
No.
Okay. Camera shy. But, yeah, sorry about that, guys. Just getting ready to go to Wally World with the old lady there. But, anyway, so this is a very cool knife. You do get really awesome, I don't know if prestige is the right word, but just, because it's old, it's been made for a long time. You can definitely tell they definitely do a good job with it. And this is not knocking Higanakami at all. I know there's just one guy making them, but mine, and I do have another one that's pretty much the same too. It's just the blade is, just kind of up against the handle, and, you can close it too far where the blade dings into the handle, the edge. Now, granted, this one's brass, so it's not as big of a deal, but they do have some steel and stainless steel ones, so I can definitely do a little bit of edge damage there. I mean, they're great knives. I love Higanakamis. You can get a good budget knife, and they're cool. But, just for around the same price, and there's, if anything more, because you do have a spring in here. But it's very cool. I really enjoy it a lot. The only thing that I thought was a little bit of a downside, because the edge wasn't that big of a deal, because I always sharpen knives anyway when I get them or shortly after getting them, so I usually don't have much complaints when it comes to edges, unless it was like like way off grinds and I'm going to be doing a lot of work to fix it. But right here where the blade comes into contact with the handle, there were just a couple of, I don't know, pokies, for lack of a better term. There was just a couple bits of metal. I don't know if it was just from when the metal was cut or folded, but I just took the file on my multi-tool and just, spent like probably 2 minutes, just got them down, and now it's fine. But you definitely could have cut yourself a couple times. I didn't like cut myself and draw blood, but the first couple times I, just didn't know it was there and just, just ripped some skin off with it. So it was sharp enough to rip skin. But, problem is gone now and alleviated. But, it is a cool knife. It is, I mean, I'm curious to see how well this is going to hold up. It's not really engraved, it just seems to be more stamped. And I've already noticed a little bit on the K, it's starting to wear a bit. So, time will tell, see how well that holds up. I mean, I won't hold it against it. I'll just be more sad just because it's funny. I'm not really big with engravings and like stuff on blades. Like, of course, the steel or the manufacturer, stuff like that. But I kind of like more subtle writing and engravings on blades. But I don't know, this here was just like, no, this is like really sick. So I like it on this. Like I said, I'll definitely do more videos on this, especially as I get more. And we'll do, a more full review. Like I said, it's kind of like a review-ish, first impressions. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. If you guys have one, please let me know. I'd love to hear if you guys have any stories or cool stuff you've done with them. If, you would consider getting them. I mean, because like I said, with the exception of those ones that go for like $45, most of them are honestly in that $20 to $30 range. And even this one here was $25. And, I feel like most people can afford, a $20 to $25 knife. Especially if it's not, you're like a whack job like me and you have to keep buying and buying different knives. But this here was just something I've seen some videos on in the past over the years. And it's funny because even some of the other knives I've been picking up the last few weeks, I think I'm kind of getting into more traditionals. I picked up 2 Buck 110s. I picked up the Kaiser Pinch, which is like kind of a fancy, little more modern slip joint knife. I would love to get the Benchmade proper, but the price keeps going up. I should have got one when they were around $100. Now they're like 130. Ugh, but that's alright. But look, you guys have an awesome rest of your weekend. Please remember to comment, subscribe, share if you feel like the video. And you guys have an awesome rest of your day, your weekend. And remember to keep carving, stay sharp, peace.